Hi.
Hello. So my name is Bada, and I'll be the person interviewing today. So the purpose of this interview is basically just to share your story and how you lived your life and the challenges you faced, so the people who are watching can basically learn from your life and basically improve their own lives, basically. And based on that, can you introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, sure. Hi, my name is Seble Tibebu. Actually, my full first name is Seble, but everybody goes by Seble, not just here, everywhere. So Seble Tibebu. Um, I am the youngest of family of 8 in my own family. But I have already made my own. I've created my own family of 4. Since I got in here, I have 2 kids now, um, a 7-year-old and 2 and 5 months old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what country are you from?
So I am from Ethiopia. I wonder how many of you have heard that country.
Heard about it.
Heard about it before?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's a country in eastern part of Africa,
Hmm.
the Horn of Africa on the eastern side.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I am from there. Just to give you a little bit of a country, I don't know, for your audience, maybe. It's one of the African country, actually, the only African country that was never colonized by the European powers during the scramble of Africa. For those of you who have taken history, yeah.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's one of those countries. So just a little bit about Ethiopia.
But you came to USA now. When did that happen?
So yeah, I came to the USA. I can't believe it. It has been over 10 years now. This is actually
Wow.
my 12th year. I just got into it. So I did my first degree in my country, Ethiopia. I graduated in accounting degree. And then I didn't want to start my postgraduate study right away. I wanted to see how it feels like to work and be able to make my own money. So I worked a little bit in a banking and also in an airline industry.
Oh, yeah.
And then I decided, okay, it was time for me to pursue my postgraduate study. So I was primarily first interested in pursuing postgraduate study in Europe. And that has been in my mind going on. But my boyfriend, who was my boyfriend then, who's now my husband, actually, he had already moved in here, and we were still friends. It wasn't serious back then. We were still close buddies,
Oh,
but he used to give me information about what it feels like to study in the U.S.
yeah.
So it made my decision process a little bit easier. So I eventually decided to apply, not just him, and there were other Ethiopian students who used to be my seniors in college that had already gone to the postgraduates here that I ended up studying. For going for, you should do it, you should do it, you should go there. So I said, okay. Yeah, and then I applied and I got accepted, and yeah, that's how I ended up doing master's
Yeah.
study in the U.S.
So right, you're living in the USA now, and a lot of stuff in the US is happening right now. And just tell us a little about what's going on, like what's happening.
Yeah, actually, yeah, as you know, we are at times and a very unprecedented times in our history, right? I think the only time I have read about something like this was used to be like about over 100 years ago when we hear
Yeah.
about this Spanish flu thing, right? So because of that, it's a very strange times here. And so we have been on lockdown since March 15.
Yeah.
Thankfully, for those of us who are able to work from home, it has been relatively easier. So starting, I've been working from home, both myself and my husband. We have been working from home for the last now, over 4 months.
Hmm.
And it was seamless. I used to work from home before that, so the transition
Oh,
was
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
What made it difficult is actually staying at home with kids.
Yeah.
So it's, teachers and, daycare, nannies, what have you, they have been they do a tremendous job of taking care of students, and you only get to realize how much effort that actually takes when
Mm.
you get to spend with your kids
Yeah.
20 hours, 7 days a week. So we did that. So that makes it a unique experience here, not just for me, for everyone in the US. I think for most friends in my age, that's very unusual. But the first few months was hard, but everybody accustomed to it.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like, yeah, I can imagine living with, like, even if it's your kid, I can't imagine living there for every single day with like no break. It's gotta be pretty rough.
yeah,
So, like,
I know.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys had a similar circumstance, right? At least a stay at home.
Yeah, basically. So we got out of lockdown like 3 weeks ago because we've had zero cases, and then
Okay.
just like a week ago we had like another outbreak, and we're still back. We're going back to lockdown, and we're just
Wow.
waiting for the word now, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
It's really rough for school because like it keeps going in and out, and then you keep getting like, and like online learning is just not that easy. So yeah, all of that.
Yeah. It's just.
Yeah. So speaking of school, you studied in the Maharashi University of Management with my mom.
Yes.
Yeah. What was like your best time you had, memorable time you had when you were studying there?
Oh, okay. Yeah, my stay at Maharshi University of Management, I think that is amongst the best times of my life, I would say. It's we didn't think it would be that much, aside from obtaining a postgraduate study, we didn't think it would give us, this immense level of experience. At least at that time, I didn't think so. What I know is I'm away from home, away from everybody. Even in the US, where Maharshi University of Management is located, it's a kind of a unique place. So, if you have ever been to the US, and for those, who have been, there are certain areas where you get to experience a unique experience of US. Otherwise, you go from one state to another state, it could be the same. You can't really tell the difference. But when you go to Iowa, Fairfield, where the university is located, it's unique by itself. The people are amazing, extremely nice people who are there 100% ready to help. But to answer your question, like my best time during my stay there was the time when we celebrated the Ethiopian Millennium Year celebration. I remember we joined around August of 2007,
Mm.
and in September was the Ethiopian Millennium New Year. So Ethiopian New Year usually falls on September 9th.
Ah.
There were at that time in the MBA class, there were 5 Ethiopian students. So, and there were a couple, I think one or two Eritrean students. Eritrea is another country who used to be actually part of Ethiopia, but then they got through a referendum, they got separated.
Yeah.
So we're really close buddies then. So we said, why don't we just celebrate the new year, with the Ethiopian culture and everything. And, Ethiopia has a unique culture, unique food. It was a challenge trying to create that kind of environment
Mm.
and the Midwestern state in the United States where you don't have even Ethiopian restaurants nearby. So we took the challenge. The challenge was we just joined the university. So the university, the New Year is happening like in a month. So we had to pull it together.
Mm.
So anyways, we did what needed to be done, and we hosted a party for the entire university community. It's actually even on YouTube, so feel free. Yeah. So we kind of put together even a fashion show, a historic virtual tour to take the audience to Ethiopia. So we were able to introduce the country for those people who have never heard of it. To show them what it looks like, the historical site, the UNESCO World Heritage Site, if people want to go there, visit sometime. So it was a huge success. So that's one of
This
my...
was 5 people. Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good. That was good.
I definitely do understand though, because when you're in a different country, away from all the culture and from all the people, like trying to recreate that feeling of home and all that stuff is very like wanted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you gotta do it. It's a sort of, it gives you an opportunity actually to show people, to show and tell, something unique, which
Exactly.
haven't
Well,
been exposed to. So yeah.
and, well, let's go on the opposite side of that statement. What are the challenges you faced?
Okay. I will be honest. The challenge at first, and I'm not a huge meat eater, but we were not allowed to eat dairy products and meat products there.
Yeah.
On campus. So I wasn't a big, as I told you, I'm not that much into it, but the fact that I want to be able to eat it whenever I want to. So even not having, just having the idea of that restriction, that was kind of hard to get used to at first. So
Yeah.
I think not just for us, there were a couple of other students too, like, their primary diet, international students, their primary diets involved with some meat like beef or lamb or even, chicken.
Yeah.
So that one was at first hard to adjust. But then as you adapt to the environment and, it's the food that were served in the cafeteria was so healthy, you never had issues like eating them. It just needs like getting used to it if
Yeah.
that, your day-to-day diet. So
Mm.
after a while we got used to it. We made friends outside. We were able to cook out whenever we feel like to. So that kind of helped.
That's good.
A little bit of a challenge. But other than that, as I said, the people are, by far still, I wouldn't compare the community there with any community that I have come to know in the US. It's an amazing group of people, very nice, very down to earth, calm, and willing to listen whenever you want to. So they're really amazing people. So that's a lot easier for all of us.
It's amazing. That's amazing. So comparing your country to the USA, what are like the differences? Like, what are the huge differences that you see?
Oh, differences. Okay. I think there are a lot, but the huge differences, and I'll tell you as I walk through, every day. I remember my experience getting, as soon as I finished the on-campus study, and I got a couple of job offers, and I went to Washington D.C. I was so excited, energized. I was very young, young girl, and then I was energetic and excited. So you catch the train to go to work, and the hustle, the bustle. It's kind of a new experience. So you get excited. So I was, motivated into getting into conversation. So I don't necessarily have to know the person. So I used to start a conversation when I was riding the train, for instance.
Oh, okay.
So some people are okay talking, but some people not comfortable. So it took me a while to adjust to that. It's some people they value their personal distance.
Yeah.
There's no touching or anything involved, but by personal distance, some people may not be even willing to get into the conversation, and I understand that. That could be like the one quiet moment people get to have even in a day. So you learn a lot as you go, but it's a huge leap of faith to adjust compared to the way of life back in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, people, a communal way of life is very common. People are used to doing things together. Even mealtime, you have to do it with people together, not just with your own family. Sometimes, most of the time, actually, you invite others in your neighborhood. People call each other just to have coffee in the neighborhood. So growing up in that kind of environment and coming and living here, where people, if you have to see them, you have to first make an appointment.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
So that's a huge contrast to it.
I see. It's just like how the social norms, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm about to graduate high school, right? That's my last year of high school, and basically I'm thinking about my life choices, what I'm going to do, what's the future looking like, all that stuff. And as I know, people have a lot of different paths when they finish high school. They go to university, they start a job. And what was your path when you graduated high school?
Good question. You know, whenever I get this kind of questions, it always reminds me of like, I wish I had that kind of opportunity when I was your age.
Yeah.
I was in high school and I get to, you know, before making any decision, I get to talk to a bunch of experts and yeah, it was a different environment back then. You know, Ethiopia, actually, when you join higher education, and I'm talking to you about my undergraduate degree, it's very competitive to get to the top universities in the country. Very competitive. You know, we used to study way too hard to get to score the highest grade so we can get into one of the top universities in the country. So the university I ended up joining is, of course, one of the most reputable and you know the top universities in the country.
Mm.
So you know, my goal was mostly to score a higher point to allow me there, not so much. I wasn't focused on what I was gonna study. You know, I said I'm gonna decide that when I get to it, probably after finishing up the first year.
Uh,
So that was, yeah, that was in my mind. I was like, oh, okay, there's no, you know, there's no chance for failure. You know,
uh,
that was, you know, there, even in my family, as I told you, I was the youngest one.
mm.
So my older brothers and sisters, they have gone to the university. So chances for failure was not acceptable. So that was my motto back then.
Mm.
But then once I got, you know, the score to get into the university and choosing the path, was more of, you know, yeah, of course I talked to my family, my older sisters and brothers, you know, and there were a couple of things like growing up when I was, what I was hearing from my dad, you know, I used to picture myself being a lawyer, and my dad is a strictly religiously stoned guy, and he's always the, until you know for sure you are capable of making the right verdict, you know, judgment, he wasn't really enjoying that profession that much. So he was sort of biased towards it.
Yeah.
My brother and, you know, sister, they were like, you know, you can do anything. But the most notable ones in my time were, you know, business school, and from business school majoring in accounting was way to go. uh, First, that's where the money was.
Mm.
So, you know, as a business student, they're like, which one pays more was my whole focus back then.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the first degrees are maybe it's a lot easier because, you know, even if you take a risk, you see it, you still have a chance to figure out other opportunities. But I know for sure that I have to land on a, if it is a business department, it has to be a major that would help me land in a job that helps me to, you know, to make the most money for my time.
I see. I see. Speaking of your job, you work at District of Columbia government. Is that correct?
Yes, yes,
So that's an American state organization, right?
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work for the Washington, D.C. You know, Washington, D.C. is the capital city of the United States of America. So, so right now, it serves as a city, the seat of the government. So the main government sits there. Um, but, you know, the city does not have, you know, it's not like a state. It's considered as a city government where the, you know, the major functions of the federal government are located, or the headquarters of the federal governments are located. So I work as a revenue estimator for the District of Columbia. By revenue estimator, it's more of a task of financial economics, where you get to certify. So my office, what my office does is we certify revenue, or approve the revenue that would be, I'm trying to explain it in a very simple terms as possible, okay? So we kind of certify how much revenue would be able to get in the next year. And then we set the ground point for the city's budgeting system. So the city, before they start their budgeting, they have to know how much revenue they should expect to get.
And you're the people who do that.
So our office has that huge responsibility of determining how much
You're gonna
revenue will be earned that would allow the city to function in the next fiscal year.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's what we do. So when my first job was a corporate environment in a private sector as soon as I finished my postgraduate study. But then I didn't stay long there. Immediately, I believe during the 4 months, I got an offer from a government agency. Just, you know, I think they had my application as soon as I got out of Maharshi University of Management. And they just called me on the 4th or 5th month, and they're saying, "Are you interested in this position?" And I was saying, because I have public service has been in my mind, quite honestly, after I learned about it in the US, what it means. So I said, yeah, there's no going back. I'm joining it. So I've been with the government since then in different roles. And
So to finish up the interview, you've immigrated from a different country to the US and went through that entire process. What would be your advice to young people who also wants to study abroad in countries like the USA?
Okay. So what I would advise young people, especially, you know, if young folks are coming from countries that are not speaking English and where English is either a second language or not spoken at all, I would advise them, you know, the benefit of language, I cannot stress it enough. You know, that's what I tell to everyone. So we had that advantage when I was in Ethiopia. You know, of course, the primary language was Amharic, you know, which is solely a language spoken by only the people of Ethiopia. You don't hear it elsewhere. So that one by itself, if you are not exposed to English, it could put you at a disadvantage, because what's the first thing that you face when you are applying for college? They ask you for SAT, TOEFL score, or IELTS. So that does actually matter. So I advise young folks just be bilingual. You know which languages are spoken. Mostly spoken by in the world countries, do the statistics. So if you have the opportunity to study more than one language, go for it. If you are interested in capturing up, you know, if you have talent to capture or to learn more than one language, I think you should go for it. That's my first advice for you folks. The other thing is, you know, when making, you know, college decisions or decisions of, you know, higher education, you know, right now, after seeing that a lot of students now, you see some folks being college dropouts, or you know, they think like, you know, they are best suited in doing something else. Advice in colleges, college education is a ground stone. You know, it doesn't matter what you end up to do, but I have learned a great deal. If I probably have ended up doing something else, but my college education has helped me not just with the academic stuff, but I was exposed to different cultures. So if you have the opportunity to study elsewhere, where it allows you to see different, it allows you to meet students from different parts of the world, I think you should go for it. Look what happened with me, you know, Yuna, your mom. That's a perfect example, right? In our class, there were, I think we were students from, I believe, more than 10 or 11 countries represented in the class. That's great, very rich. I have friends from different parts of the world right now that I still keep in touch with. So it grows your imagination. It helps whatever path you choose in the future, be it your own business, be it working elsewhere, you know, in international roles, you know, it's a plus. Yeah. And the third one last thing that I would add, keep your network active and alive. So, you know, keep your contacts from high school all the way up. So your circle of friends, you should keep in touch, you know, wherever you end up, because that's going to help you later on in life. And you don't know when you find a particular relationship becomes handy, you know, a friend of you who you met in high school or during the exams, you might run to them somewhere else where you need someone in need. And they turn out to be very helpful. So that's my third advice.
So thank you so much, Seble. Like, it was amazing. I really learned a lot from your interview, and I really do hope, well, and hope you stay safe and all this pandemic stuff. And yeah, thanks for the interview,
Yeah.
and yeah, bye.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish you best of luck. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.